Thank you. It's amazing to be here tonight. Thank you for all the touching words that I've heard already, and for those that are coming later. So I'm maybe from a different species than most of you. I've been working in my lab for many decades in the dark, and only recently became overwhelmed by all this light. And the reason that I was able to do this work and get the recognition that I'm getting these days is, well, there are many reasons, but one of them is because governments did the right things for many decades to support basic research, curiosity-driven research, meaning the kind of research which we don't know ahead of time if it's going to lead somewhere. The kind of research that we're seeing is giving rise to discoveries about the universe and black holes. And I got attracted to this because I was passionate about understanding something fundamental about us, which is our intelligence. Not because it could change the world, but because I thought this was so important to understand, right? So organizations like NSERC, like CFAR, have been supporting this in times when the work I was doing was not getting any recognition. In fact, it was very marginal. But we have created a system here that allowed this kind of exploration to happen. And now what? So the work that we've done has now moved out of universities, and it's getting used, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to change the landscape of work, as you've heard. It's going to change the landscape of healthcare. It's going to change the landscape of transportation, and many other things that I don't even fathom yet. So I'd like us to remember that it was because we did these long-term investments in the past that we have reached that point today. And now Canada has to continue making long-term investments, of course, in research and discovery, as I was talking about, but also to make sure that what we have invested in the past comes back to us in the future, because there's, of course, a danger that all of that investment is going to be making profits in other jurisdictions, which is great for them. But I think if we want to face the transitions, for example, on the job market that are coming, governments are going to need to be able to tap into the increase in wealth that AI is going to bring. And that means Canadian companies have to be part of it. And that means that, well, it's not just public policy, unfortunately. It's changing the culture of business, of investment, of our healthcare system to accelerate right now when it's time before the rest of the world, especially in the US and China, dominates these markets. Now, I think we've gotten in Canada recognition for our research excellence in general and AI in particular. And we're trying our best to become economic leaders in AI. But I think it's not sufficient. And with our Canadian values, we can go one more step and become moral leaders in AI. And that's where also the public policy side is important. I was involved in what's called the Montreal Declaration for Socially Responsible Development of AI, along with scholars from the humanities and social sciences, of course, AI experts, but also the general public, because AI is going to impact many people's lives, and it's really important that ordinary citizens understand what it's about and how it's going to change our world, and that we take the collective decisions about what kind of future we want together, not just the elite that is standing here in universities and other places of power, but ordinary citizens. That's why the media is so important. That's why we need to rethink our education system to better prepare not just the next generation of engineers and scientists who are going to build a better future, but also ordinary citizens who are going to be part of the discussion so that AI and other technology isn't abused, isn't misused. Because if we let things to their natural consequences, the law of the jungle is going to mean that this power that we're creating with all this technology is going to lead to more power for those who control that technology. And concentration of power is not good. It's not good for democracy. It's not even good for the best functioning of capitalism. So it's something that we have to be proactive about. And that's where I think public policy becomes important. In the Montreal Declaration, we lay down 10 principles that we think should guide the development of public policy. But much more work needs to be done. We need to look at every case where AI is being used or will be used and think through what sort of potential changes in legislation or regulations need to take place. And it's not going to take just experts in the technology and AI, but of course, experts in ethics, experts in law, to work together to find the best solutions for us and for the rest of the world. Because this is not just happening here in Canada, it's happening all over the planet. And Canada has a tradition of being a strong voice for good in the world, of multilateralism. And it's particularly important for AI. It's important for things like dealing with how AI could be misused in the military with killer drones, for example, something I care a lot about. So I think it's really important that we take this moral leadership role. And well, I thank you for paying attention to those issues. Many of you have been, and I'm grateful for the work that you will do in the future to make sure we grow wiser, at least at the same speed as we're growing more powerful with technology. Thank you.